So, John, thank you very much for joining us.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
So I own a company called Storm Photo Tours, and what we do is weather photography tours, workshops. We chase tornadoes. We do lightning photography. We get out there and see supercells, basically any just cool natural phenomena that happens, and we try to pair that with epic landscapes, and not the traditional storm chasing where you see guys just driving around in their cars next to stuff with the windshield wipers going, and they never stop to get out of the car. We try to create a whole scene and a mood and be able to get out and experience it, see it, and a lot of times hopefully see it someplace other than just over a wide open field in the middle of nowhere.
And when you say we, it's not just you.
No, I have my trusty chase partner Aspen here, who goes everywhere with me. She's been traveling and going on the road with me since she was about I don't know, I think I first started taking her out on these adventures when she was about 4 months old. So she had a 13th birthday back in October and is still going strong. So this was her 13th year out there chasing storms and running around on the road with me and having a good time.
Unbelievable. And she loves it.
She does. It's very stimulating for her because she gets to go out and see someplace new. A lot of times you're in, 2 or 3 different states in a day. So new smells, new adventures, getting a chance to just be out there in the outdoors. She just loves being outside. So it's a really good, really good.
Does the sound of lightning and stuff sort of freak her out? Because a lot of dogs, a lot of dogs everywhere seem to be very scared when they hear fireworks or thunder, and that seems to be something that a lot of people are really worried about, especially when it comes to like 4th of July or whatever. How did you condition?
I've had that question a lot of times before. We did it so much starting at a young age that it was just something that she was accustomed to, and it doesn't even phase her. She will not even bat an eyelid at thunder or lightning, rain, anything like that. The one thing that she doesn't care for is hail. So we just try to stay out of it most of the time, and keep anything that's real loud like that. She doesn't love fireworks. She's on board with that. She's like, nah, I could do without the fireworks. But most of the storm related stuff, wind, and it's just another day at the office for her.
And we were just talking about how completely and utterly healthy she looks and how active she is. This must have been an amazing lifestyle for her.
Yeah, no, it's worked out really well, and I think the extra stimulation and getting a chance to get a lot of exercise. When you're storm chasing, there's a lot of downtime. Most of the storms happen in the afternoon, the evening, later portion of the day. So a typical day when we're on the road, we get up in the morning, get her a nice breakfast, go out for a walk, and a lot of times it's always in a new place, so there's something different to smell, something different to see, new grass to roll in, and so it keeps her mentally stimulated. And I think we've been really fortunate that's kept her young and healthy for a lot of years.
That mental stimulation for dogs is so important. What else do you do when you're out on the road to keep her happy?
Well, she likes to interact when we're on the road and we're traveling. So it's kind of goofy, but one of the things that we started doing when she was a puppy is she likes to get up on the center console for a little while. We'll put on some music, and she does her version of singing. So we'll get out there and we'll belt out some some classic hair band stuff. We'll get some Axl Rose, Guns N' Roses, or some Metallica, and she's more than happy to join in for a few songs. We do a lot of that. I also anytime I can, I try to, if we're somewhere where I can roll down the window and let her stick her head outside and get some fresh air. There's always something going on. We also interact with so many different people. And when you're out there, you meet people from all different walks of life, and she's not a big fan of playing with other dogs, but she loves to meet people, loves to meet kids, and so every time she gets to meet somebody new, it's another adventure, another thing to keep her perked up and excited about being on the road and the next adventure.
It's not just her that's happy. The clients also love having her there, right?
They do. In fact, a lot of our clients, it is now a requirement that Aspen comes along for the journey. When we first started the business, I put it on the website that, just as a warning to people if they didn't like dogs or were allergic or something, that hey, we have this Corgi. Aspen, who is going to be coming along on the adventure. So you're going to have to be okay with that if you want to do business with us. And, first people were kind of like, oh, yeah, it's a Corgi, it's a dog. And then they meet her and fall in love with her, and they enjoy the different element that she brings. And she always is really good about entertaining guests on the road. A lot of times we have these long drives where we're going hundreds of miles in a day to get to our chase target. And some of that time on the road, you're driving in the middle of nowhere. It can be kind of boring. She always loves to entertain people. She'll get up, jump in the back of the van, and she always finds the sucker. There's a sucker on every tour. Every tour, there's the one person who will give her whatever she wants. We had a funny group with us last year. One of our bigger tours, I think we had nine guests, and typically anything that's that large, I lead with my business partner. But he had some kind of personal engagement, couldn't do it, so it was just me and this group of 9 people. So I was focused on the road and the business of storm chasing, and I had Aspen set up in the in the passenger seat with her bed in the front of the van, and she was riding along happy as can be for a little while, and then decided she was going to go investigate what everybody was doing in the back. So she jumps back there, and one of the girls in the front seat says, "Do you have any treats for Aspen?" I said, "Sure. We're on the road for 2 months at a time. I've always got treats." So I had this big bag, gigantic bag of treats, and I pass it back. And this bag of treats was supposed to last, a month and a half while we're on the road, right? And about, I don't know, an hour later, I get the empty bag passed forward. I was like, how many treats did you give her? She kept doing it because she does a little high five where, she'll put the paw up, and it's really, really cute, and it's really hard to say no to. So she'll get going with this paw up and down, and nobody can say no to her. And this girl just kept giving her treat after treat after treat until the whole bag was gone.
She kept it quiet then.
Oh yeah, she's never gonna rat anybody out.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Once she finds out that you're gonna feed her or give her what she wants, and then she'll keep coming. Then every day she went back to the same person and go sit by her.
That's it's an interesting topic that kind of brings up the feeding aspect on the road, because you're away for 2 months at a time. I know a lot of people find it really stressful to go away with their dog for a weekend when it comes to bringing the food and all the accessories and the toys. How do you deal with her nutrition when you're on the road?
So her breakfast is always about 10 times more complicated than mine. I'll get up and I'll have a hotel breakfast, whatever they happen to be serving, and I'm good. For her, she's got her same breakfast that she eats every day, which she's got a mixture of, she's got a raw kibble, and then she's got a topper that goes on it, and then we do the little turkey bacon for dogs, and then she loves vegetables. She's a fanatic for sugar snap peas. So I've got it down to a science now where I just have little containers with everything that goes together, and then I have a cooler full of ice that just has her vegetables and her turkey bacon. And so you get up in the morning, pull out the dish, and it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, break up some vegetables, put it on the top, and then pour a little chicken broth over the top, and she's happy as can be.
Awesome. You've got it down to an art.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because people always laugh at us. They're like, "What did you have for breakfast?" I was like, "I had a banana." And you just made Aspen like this 5-course meal.
So you're a professional dog traveler. What other tips do you have?
Be organized. If you're going to travel with a dog, you need to, one, be prepared for absolutely everything. So that means extra bags, extra blankets, extra anything that you would possibly need for a dog. The biggest one that I learned the hard way: lots and lots of towels and beach towels, because with Aspen, she loves to swim and loves to be in the water. And I really don't like to tell her no, because, if you're in the car for hours and hours and hours, also need lots of exercise to maintain that balance and to stay healthy. So I really have tried not to tell her no when we go by a lake, a river, a stream, or, we're just hanging out somewhere in a park waiting for storms to go. If she wants to go swim, I let her swim. But anytime you let a dog go swimming when you're on the road, you're asking for a wet, muddy disaster if you don't have the right stuff to clean up after. So, we've really had to develop a system where I can bring everything that I need to dry her off, clean her, so she, doesn't get hot spots or anything like that while we're on the road.
So she's got more luggage than you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's always more dog stuff in the car. I travel with a camera bag and one suitcase with my clothes, and then when my stuff gets dirty, just stop at a hotel, do laundry, and we're good. And then the whole rest of the car is all of her stuff. She's got, and on any given day, two different beds. She has a soft-sided crate that she likes to travel in. Where we just leave one side open, and she'll lay in there on typically one of those little cooling mats or a cooling blanket, and then she's got her toys, she's got her treats. Aspen's a big frisbee fiend, so you can't go anywhere without her frizz. If you go anywhere without frizz, she's not coming.
Is that also on the website?
So yeah, it's always funny when we have a film crew out or a tour group. A lot of times the downtime is just everyone out there in the park throwing the frisbee for Aspen, and she'll just get people to play ball with her, get people to play frisbee, and then she's got this little a floating sea turtle little water toy that she likes. So anytime we're near a lake or a river or something, she'll make somebody throw the sea turtle out and chase the sea turtle and bring it back, and she could do that all day long until your arm falls off.
So your background is in meteorology, and I guess you can kind of start to understand and see when a storm is coming. Can Aspen do the same?
She kind of is just along for the ride. She knows when it's she kind of knows when it's go time. When, typically we'll spend most of the early afternoon playing and on like those kinds of adventures. But then once the clouds start to billow up and we get in the camera gear comes out, then she knows it's like kind of game time. So she'll settle in, she'll sit, and then she's kind of grown to just appreciate the show. Like she loves to actually sit on my lap and look out the window, especially as we're waiting for a storm to approach our position. Loves to just sit and watch and take it in. I think you get a lot of different scents. Winds from the storm kick up all kinds of different things, and they tend to be very interesting scents for dogs. So she kind of has fun with that.
So my assumption is that these scenes can be quite dangerous. Have you ever been in danger when you've been out?
If you're not in danger at some point on a storm chase, you're not doing it right.
Okay.
But you just have to learn enough about what you're doing to just mitigate that risk, and to there's always a calculated risk when you're around storms. You never know exactly where lightning is going to strike. But a lot of times people assume with storms that tornadoes would be the most dangerous thing. A lot of times that actually tends to be the easiest because they're relatively small. Most of the time you can see them, you know where it is, you know where you need to position relative to the tornado. It's the more random stuff like lightning, and then the things that you wouldn't think of. Rain is probably one of the most dangerous things you encounter because it can flood low areas and roads and washes. Hydroplaning is one of the biggest risks that we encounter out there. Also, just random debris that ends up in the road from winds, power lines, trees, different things that you can encounter. Hail's another one, but that's another one that's pretty easy to avoid if you have experience around storms and you know which part of the storm to stay out of. So we usually try to avoid most of that stuff. But it is dangerous, but it's dangerous in a controlled way. This year was my 33rd season, and I'm still doing it. So when people say it's dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, and there's always some element of risk that you can't control. But if you have escape routes, if you have a plan, if you're doing your navigation correctly, you always know what road options you have when. You can really keep that in its box and keep it under control and focus more on just enjoying the storm and being out there and getting to just see this spectacular thing that's unfolding in front of you.
Amazing. So it sounds like you don't feel like it's too dangerous in the moment. I was going to ask you, dogs are super in tune with their humans' emotions. Does Aspen act differently when she knows it's dangerous or when she knows maybe it's getting tense?
Sometimes, yeah. And a lot of times I use that as a gauge of when I'm like, I have a habit of taking things a little bit to the edge in order to get a shot or to capture something that I've really, an angle, a sequence, something that I've really wanted to do. And so sometimes I will push those boundaries a little bit, and she's really good about being kind of my warning for when to pull back on that. And I know when if she starts to get nervous or starts to get on edge, that hey, maybe I need to dial it back a little bit. So that's another reason it's just great to have her on the road, because if I get a little too in the moment, she'll reel me back in and be like, okay,
She's a good
tap the
anchor.
brakes a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a good anchor.
Yeah.
And then so you said you've been doing this for 33 years and you've been taking Aspen for the past 13.
Yep.
What changed when you started bringing Aspen on the road versus not having a dog with you?
It's very different. When you're out there by yourself, it's just you. The only thing you have to worry about is eating a meal now and again, making sure that your vehicle is maintained and not getting yourself killed. It's pretty straightforward. You kind of tend to, you'll car camp more often. You're more apt to take the dive motel and whatnot. And with her, it shifts my whole priority from the yes, it's important to get out and see the storm and to do our business, but my number one priority becomes looking after her and safeguarding her health, her happiness, her well-being. So I think doing it with her has led to much more healthy choices on my part. When you're out there with the dog, you're very cognizant of when mealtime is, and you're not going to skip meals. Every time I end up giving her water, I remind myself, hey, I got to do the same thing. And it's real easy when you're out there chasing your doing storms and photography to just focus 100% on that and to forget the essential things in life like exercise and sleep. And she'll always keep you grounded in that department because she wants to sleep on her regular schedule, she wants to go for her walks, she wants to play. And so it's been really great to keep me in line and make sure that I'm doing all those things that I need to be doing for my own health. That it's real easy when you don't have a dog to just be like, it's fine, I'll go for a walk later, I can eat later, I don't need to eat now. It's easier to brush that stuff off. But when you have her, obviously I'm not going to deprive her of any of those essential things in life that she needs to be happy and healthy, because this dog's my entire world. You know what I mean? I would not want this dog to be unhappy or unhealthy for even a moment. So it's very reciprocal, and it creates this feedback loop.
So what else has she taught you?
She's really just taught me to have fun and to not take myself so seriously all the time, because anytime you're doing something that you're passionate about, it's really easy to get wrapped up and take it too seriously, be hard on yourself if you fail. I've really learned to just brush that stuff off, because with her we end up just doing everything in the moment and enjoying the experience itself. I know you guys have experienced this too with our phones and all of our technology. It's really easy to get wrapped up in that technology and be taking pictures and video and doing all the stuff, but not creating memories and not living in the moment. And she kind of forces you to actually live in the moment and have the experience versus just recording the experience and going back and watching it later.
You wouldn't believe the amount of people who have the same answer when we ask that question. It's the thing that shocked me most. Excuse me. A lot of people say that my dog teaches me to live in the moment, which is crazy.
It's really about creating memories and just having these experiences, because part of it is the one thing that's always in the back of my mind, and it probably shouldn't be, is that their lives are so much shorter than ours. So I feel like I don't ever want to waste a day. I want to make sure that we get the most out of every day. If there's an opportunity to have an experience or do a little side trip when we're on the road, maybe see a national park or just get out to experience a place that we've never been to before, I'm so much more likely to do that when I'm with her versus when I'm just by myself. When you travel by yourself, you're thinking about all the human stuff. You're like, oh, if I go to do that, it costs money. I'm going to have to spend $20 to go to that national park, or I'm going to have to, go to that restaurant and, I'm going to have to order a drink. I'm going to have to do this and that. And you think of things in like human terms. But when you have the dog, it's, you're thinking more of, hey, this would make her really happy to do this and go on that experience. And I know if I make her happy, I'm going to be happy because I'm going to get to see her, smile and having a good time. So it's much easier to just do those things and to say yes and to just live versus going through all the human societal structures where I need to work this many hours, I need to do this, I need to clean the house, and they really teach you that as long as all that stuff gets done, there's time to do all the other things too, and to have fun and to do those things that that you otherwise wouldn't really get a chance to do, especially when you're at home. At home you get in your own little bubble, and it's easy to just stay in that bubble, and it starts to feel safe. You don't want to break out because when you're traveling and you're seeing things that are new and different, there's an element where you have to pop out of your comfort zone for a minute, and a lot of times people have a hard time doing that. But she has no problem doing that. Her comfort zone is anything that looks fun.
Anything where you're comfortable as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you're definitely not alone in that. And I think what reveals it the most is on the website you put, hey, this might be a warning, but we have a dog. And that actually turns into a selling point. And you were even saying those guys that you took out, I think, from the Sphere in Las Vegas, they
love her.
They loved it.
They love her. Absolutely.
And that's as professional as it gets, right?
It's so nice to be able to take her with me and to actually share her with that element of my business, because she actually becomes part of the business itself. And so we're not just selling tours, or we're not just taking people out to see a tornado. We're giving them an experience. Anytime you bring a dog into the mix, it feels more like a family trip than it does a tour, or sometimes if you go on those things, they just feel real structured. It breaks down some of those initial barriers that people have, especially if people in the group don't know each other. It's a common thing for everybody to rally around the dog. Oh, Aspen's being cute and this, and then it spurs conversation, and people who have never met before start to talk to each other, and they start to interact, and now they have something in common because they've all played with Aspen. They've all hung out with Aspen for a couple days, and gives people something to talk about. So it really gives everything a more relaxed feel to it.
Dogs definitely bring people together. It's such an amazing sort of talent that they all seem to have.
It's a calming factor too.
Bet.
If you think about it, when if you've never gone out to chase a storm before, and you've never been in close proximity to a tornado, people can be really nervous and on edge the first time, because obviously we've done it a bunch of times. It's not a big deal to us. But if you've never seen a tornado before, and now all of a sudden you're pulling up in a vehicle right next to one in a field, that can be kind of terrifying. So it's a very calming factor to have her. And a lot of times people look at her and say, well, she's not upset, she's not anxious, she's not nervous. And then they kind of take a deep breath and relax. And so it's kind of a grounding presence.
I bet. You talked about comfort zone, and I can't imagine anything maybe less comfortable to somebody who's never done it than driving towards the tornado instead of away from it.
Yeah. Well, it's that natural fight or flight instinct, and you have to kind of, if you've never done it before, it's a fight, because your brain has this risk management thing going on that's trying to tell you, hey, danger, I need to get away from it. You're doing the exact opposite of what your mind thinks that you should be doing in that moment. So it's
like curiosity versus the safety instinct, right?
On the one hand, you're seeing this just spectacle and this unbelievable display of the power of nature that's happening in front of you. So there is that draw. It has a magnetic attraction to it. You see these big structured supercells with these amazing clouds, especially if you get one, at sunset with the dramatic light, and you have this thing just spinning towards you. And a lot of people have never actually seen that before, other than maybe in a movie or in a picture. But it's a whole different thing to go out there and just experience it in real life. So it has that draw, but at the same time, you've got this, the little chirp on your shoulder going, okay, this is a little uncomfortable. I shouldn't be here. We need to leave. There's definitely a balance there.
We might have heard a little rumor of a story which ended up with Aspen's playtime turning into the fire brigade being called with hazmat suits, and you having to spend at least 300.
I cannot confirm or deny, but actually, if you really want to hear this story, anytime you travel with a dog, you're gonna run into some little bumps in the road every once in a while. Some of them are bigger than others. This particular bump was rather large. Every year I take a trip to the Pacific Northwest with Ginger in the winter, and usually Aspen and I spend a couple days adventuring on the roads before we link up with Ginger and Bacon. And so we were out. We had just done a beautiful day in Bryce Canyon. We got to play in the snow. It was wonderful. Then the next day we were in Grand Teton National Park. We had worked our way up through western Montana into Idaho, and we were a little bit early for we were going to meet Ginger in Spokane, Washington the next day. So we had been in the car for a little while. It was a long day of driving. Montana's a bigger state than it feels like. It was one of those states where you feel get going. It's driving and driving and driving. So she was ready to get out of the car. So we get down to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And it's December, so it's chilly, but it wasn't cold enough to snow. So it had been raining there for a little while, so it was kind of dark and wet. But the rain stopped, and they had all the holiday lights, and it looked beautiful out there by the lake. And she's got a favorite park that she likes to go explore. And Aspen was just raring to go play, so I was like, "Let's do it. Let's go play." And I just thought, you know what? I'm gonna let her off leash. Let's just get her
Just
some
enjoy life.
roam around time,
Yeah.
right? So it's beautiful, nice green grass. It's a little wet, and I figured it's okay. I'll dry her off when she's done, right? So I just let her rip. She goes out there, plays with her frisbee for a little while, and then just starts rolling in the grass. She's having a good old time just rolling, and there was a little ice skating rink out there, so I'm watching some of the skaters go around. They had some holiday music playing. It was very festive. It was nice. And then I turned back around and I noticed Aspen's still rolling in the grass. I was like, that's a lot of rolling. I wonder what she's doing. I was like, I'm gonna go wander back over there and just check on her, see what she's up to. So I wander over to where Aspen is. She's still rolling, and I get over there and I noticed that suddenly the white fur that she had all over her face was now brown. There's a lot of brown. First I thought maybe, okay, probably a little bit muddy out there, and then I realized it wasn't mud. Aspen had found just a pile of poo that she decided would make a nice perfume for the evening. So she's rolling around in it, and just, it was everywhere. It was caked to her face. She could barely even open her eyes. She had this beautiful holiday harness that was just covered. I mean, absolutely covered. Every inch of it. She had this tag that had her little name on it, and it was covered. You couldn't even see her name anymore. And so I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's 9:30 at night. I'm in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. All the stores are closed, so I can't go anywhere to buy anything to clean her up. I'm like, the best I can do is maybe I can hope to find a public bathroom, because if it were summertime, I could just take her down to the lake, wash her in the lake. But that lake's 32 degrees. I was like, I can't take her down to the lake. She's going to get hypothermia. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I'm walking around this park for 20 minutes, and I've got her on the leash. I'm like, come on. I'm like, we got to figure something out. And fortunately, a police officer was out there just walking a local beat, and kind of noticed our struggles, and walks over and gives me a little smirk. He's like, "You've got yourself quite into a pickle, haven't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, kind of." He's like, "Well, I don't really have anything with me that can help you," but he's like, "You know what? Let me go ahead and call Coeur d'Alene Fire, and we'll see if maybe they've got some ideas or do something to help out." Next thing I know, turn around, they've got the full-on ladder truck with the lights on pulling up in the parking lot next to the park, and I'm just doing one of these going, oh my gosh, sometimes dog ownership. And so these guys get out, and they've got these big old 5-gallon buckets with the soap and the industrial degreaser that they use for, chemical spills. These guys are all in like hazmat gear with the gloves and everything. And so they managed to get her down to a public bathroom that was all concrete, and they unlocked this public bathroom, and you go in there, and it looked like a scene from a movie. You've got all these firefighters over Aspen with this degreaser stuff and sponges, and they're trying to get it off her, and it's just caked. I mean, this is the most stubborn goo I've ever seen in my entire life, and it's just in her fur, every nook and cranny, and the paws. And it took 2 hours with these guys using industrial degreaser to just get her to the point where I could wrap her up in a towel and get her back into the car. And we had planned to camp that night. I had a beautiful camp spot picked out for us. I was actually excited about it. It looked like a nice campground. I thought, this is going to be great. Now all of a sudden campground's out, right? But it's the holiday season. It's last minute. We're trying to figure out where the heck we're going to go. I find a hotel. There was one hotel room left in like the entire city. It was $350, and I was like, oh, okay, but what am I gonna do, right? I need to give her a proper bath and get her clean to the point where we can actually travel again. I can't show up at the airport to pick up Ginger and Bacon with a dog that's just covered in crust and poo from the night before. So we get this hotel, and you can't check in. It's frowned upon when you check into a hotel with a dog covered in poo, even if they've been decreased a little bit. So I end up having to sneak her up through the fire entrance in the back. So we're sneaking in through the back door.
The fire brigade helping you.
Yeah, and so the first thing I do is I plop her down in the bathtub and like finally get her cleaned up. So another half hour in the hotel, in the shower, in the bathtub, getting her cleaned up. And of course we soiled a few hotel towels that we won't tell anybody about. But eventually, it came to a happy ending. We were able to get her cleaned up, and then fortunately there was a little Mexican restaurant across the street that was still serving margaritas at like 1:30 in the morning, and boy did I need one after that.
You had 4 of them.
Close.
Oh man, it's not always straightforward traveling with dogs.
No, you kind of have to be prepared for just about anything, but fortunately that was the worst usually.
That was one of the more sort of
Yeah.
challenging ones. But I also had a little birdie told me that you might have been upstate in Arizona and had
One thing about storm chasing with a dog is you never know exactly what you're going to run into. Sometimes it's the weather, and sometimes it's just the wacky people that you run into when you're out there. So this was a night where we thought we're not going to run into anybody. It's like 2:30 in the morning. We were out northwest of Wickenburg in this little town called Congress, and it's like next to this old gold mining ghost town. So you get these folks that have just lived there forever and ever, generations in the same spot, and they're not used to having visitors, especially unannounced visitors, right?
At 2 o'clock in the
At
morning.
2 o'clock in the morning, right? So I didn't see that there were houses out there. It's dark. We found a little patch of desert, and I set up my tripod. There was this beautiful storm coming across the mountain, and it's dropping these massive lightning bolts, and I'm getting some great shots. And then all of a sudden, I hear a gunshot. Bang! And I was like, what the heck is that? You know, and it's not entirely unusual for people to be shooting in the desert.
This
but
wasn't
at
thunder.
2:30 in the morning, this was not thunder, and this was not just random drunk guys shooting in the desert. I turn and I look, and walking down the road towards me in the darkness is this old woman who must have been 86 to 90 years old. She's in one of the old-fashioned nightgowns with the cap and the thing coming over the top, and she's holding a shotgun, and she's walking towards me going, "You dag people from the government, y'all keep coming out here trying to collect my taxes. I done told you I ain't never gonna pay. Get out of here." Boom! Fires another shot from the shotgun in the air, and I was like, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, we made a wrong turn. We were just leaving. Thank you. You have a great night. We're gonna be on our way."
Aspen handed her notice in right after that.
Yeah. I think Aspen was like, "Okay, I've had enough storm chasing. We can go for tonight. We can go home now." Some of these people are crazy.
You've not heard that one before.
I've not heard that one, and I don't have anything to follow that up with.
It's hard to follow up stuff like that.
I wish you had that on camera, though.
Oh my gosh, I know that would have been one where if we were rolling a YouTube video or something, that would have been absolute YouTube gold. We could have retired off of that video.
Yeah, that's your viral one.
Phew.
That's brilliant.
Is there anything else that's come close to that?
Well,
I feel like we're scratching the surface here.
We're based in the desert. So one of the things we always tell our workshop guests is you always have to be alert to snakes, right? Especially at night when you can't see when you're walking around. And so we were out shooting with a group, actually just right up the road here, out towards Four Peaks. There's a little ATV recreation area with a bunch of dirt roads out there, and it was another night that we were shooting lightning, and I had a younger kid with me who didn't have quite as much experience, and I was just letting him tag along with us because he had never really shot storms before, and he had contacted me on Instagram and was like, "Hey, would you mind if I just hung out with you and came out with your group?" I said, "Sure, no problem. Let's go." So we're out there, just east of Rio Verde, and we're watching this beautiful storm come over the mountain from Scottsdale, and we've got stars behind it, and it was one of those where when the lightning would strike, the entire storm would light up, and you could see the desert out in front of it. So we had a couple cameras going, and we're just enjoying this storm. Every time a lightning bolt would hit, we're like, yes, we're hooping and hollering, having a good time. And I just happened to look down underneath this kid's tripod. I've got Aspen over here sitting next to my tripod, just, probably 3 or 4 feet away from where I look down. And a big diamondback rattlesnake had come and just curled itself up right square underneath his tripod. And, the thing with rattlesnakes is you don't want to make deliberate movements and scare them, because that's when they're not aggressive by nature. They're just out there to hunt and do their own thing. But you also don't want to step on one. You don't want to startle one, because that's when really bad things can happen, right? So I look down and I see this thing, and he hadn't seen it yet. His foot is about 2 inches away from the head of this rattlesnake. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, I need to just calmly communicate to him that he has a huge snake right under his tripod. So I said to him, don't panic, but I need you to look down and then slowly take a step back. He looks down and jumps. And so he freaks out, the snake freaks out and takes off. And so the snake comes out, goes between us, and now is sitting right underneath my car door. So now I can't get into my car because I've got a giant rattlesnake underneath the driver's seat door over there, and now the snake's on edge, and its tail's going, and it's irritated. So now I've got an angry snake underneath my car door. So we end up having to take our gear, go around to the back of the car. I had to crawl from the trunk to the front seat so I could move the car away from this snake. But fortunately, nobody got bit, nobody got hurt. But it was another one of those things where it's just like the unexpected adventures of storm chasing with the dog. And fortunately, the snake didn't seem to want to go in Aspen's direction, and Aspen wasn't really interested in tangling with the snake. So
oh my goodness,
all is well that ends well.
Does it happen often with snakes?
This year it has.
It has.
Yeah, this year we had a workshop group down in Tucson, and you'd think you're taking people out storm chasing, and there's storms all the time, right? Well, we ran into one of the driest weeks that we've had in the desert in I can't tell you how long. So we had this group out, and we're trying to do other stuff that was not storm chasing, because we got everybody out. They're on vacation, and so we thought, let's go out and just do some Milky Way photography. The desert is a great place to shoot the night sky because it's super dark, and the saguaros make a really nice foreground. And so we had spent some time in Saguaro National Park outside of Tucson, and then my business partner had a spot. Every time he says he has a spot, I know I'm like we're getting ourselves into some adventure that's going to be more than we bargained for, right? So his spot involved climbing up this mountain in the dark at night in the middle of summer, which, obviously in the summer it's too hot for the snakes to be out during the day, so they come out at night. So we're walking up this trail, and I'll be darned if I didn't about step on a huge rattlesnake that was just curled up under a rock, and it was so camouflaged I didn't even see it until I almost stepped on it. And then I just look, and he's right down there, and I was like, whoa, okay, stop, right? So I stop. I alerted everybody in the group behind us that, hey, snake, you're gonna have to give it a wide pass. So we get up, and we get to my friend's spot that he had with these couple nice saguaros, and we're up on the mountain, and it's got kind of an elevated view out over Tucson with the Milky Way coming up over the mountain. Nice scene, right? So we've got this group, everybody's setting up their composition, and one sat down on this rock, opened up his bag, puts the camera bag out, and was getting his settings, taking care of everything. And all of a sudden, one of the other girls in the group was like, hey, Bob, I said, you got a visitor in your camera bag. And I looked down, I was standing behind him, and I see Rattlesnake comes up over the rock, out of the bushes, and right into his camera bag. Into and over his camera bag. And he's sitting right in front of the camera bag. So he can't really move at this point. So he's got this rattlesnake coming through his stuff and coming around behind him, and he can't move. Fortunately, the snake kind of just passed through and did his thing. But it was one of those things where that's not the kind of encounter you want to have when you're out there just doing Milky Way photography in the middle of the desert at night.
Not really.
You can't see anything.
As we're sat in the desert, I'm looking at our camera bags,
and all that stuff.
making sure.
The one thing that you'll get at night out here is the wind scorpions, and they're fairly harmless, but they look like something out of a movie. They're huge. They're about this big.
Oh my
Big,
goodness.
long, and they're just these terrifying looking scorpions. But if you put a bag on the ground and leave it out, they look for little crevices and nooks and crannies to crawl into.
Did you check your
And
shoes this morning?
every once in a while, I've brought home a surprise with me in my camera bag. I've got a spot out in Mesa that I love to shoot lightning. It's up on top of this little mountain, so we'll climb up to the top of the mountain. And when there's lots of storms going on, I have this terrible habit of like changing lenses a bunch of times, and I'll have two cameras set up, and I'll just flop open my bag, and then when I'm done shooting, put all the lenses back in there, zip everything up, and go home. And so I had one night where I came home, and I get everything into the house, open up the bag, and here's a huge freaking wind scorpion right in the middle of my camera bag on my lens. And I'm like, God, I brought it in the house with me. So I'm quickly taking it outside, taking all the stuff, dumping it out to get, and then of course you're paranoid that there's five more
yeah.
in every zippered pouch of your bag.
I feel like we learn about a new danger every day. We knew about the snakes, I think, day one. The second day, we were told about tarantulas, which Chris
And they won't
freaked out
usually
about.
bother you. Like
Today, scorpions.
the funny thing with the tarantulas is like August and September is their mating season, so they'll come out, and at night they're wandering all over the place in the desert, and you'll be out shooting, and that's not really something you think about. You typically you're looking out for snakes when you're out there, because that tends to be the most prominent thing that can kill you, other than the lightning that you're trying to shoot. So you're not really thinking spiders, but I can't tell you how many times I've been out there, and you'll have one, and you'll look down, it's on your shoe, like this big old honking tarantula is just like, or crawling up your leg.
I don't like it.
I've just touched his leg.
But yeah, there are a million and one things in the desert that are always trying to kill you, and then there are the things that can kill you but are not necessarily trying to, but you still want to avoid. Like the tarantulas don't really bother you as
They're
long as
okay.
you don't make them mad. Like, don't step on it. Don't try to squash it. They're usually just passing through, doing their own thing. They're very docile. But they, if you're not a spider guy, they look kind of.
I'm not a spider
They look
guy.
kind of freaky. They've got the big old shaggy legs, and some of them are about this big.
No, I don't like it.
So yeah, but usually that's an August, September thing, and most of the rest of the year you'll never see one.
Can you just tell me it's not a November thing?
Yeah, no, you won't see them. They're
Perfect.
They should be out, for the most part. They should be underground in their burrows and stuff right now.
Maybe I'm not a desert guy.
It's hard to be it's hard to be a desert person. I mean, you learn to love it living out here, but then there's always something that's annoying. We got a visitor. We got Scottsdale Police coming to say hi. We're gonna have some friends.
Didn't you have one where the snake came between your legs and you were holding Aspen?
Aspen, yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to take a selfie with the comet.
Okay. And you were holding.
I was holding her in the desert in the middle of the night, and the snake comes. I look down, and next thing I know, I've got a rattlesnake coming right through between my legs and beneath the tripod. We deal with stuff like this all the time while we're shooting storms. There are always things that can happen where, even if you minimize risk, you can never get it down to completely zero, because there are always things that happen that you can't control. One example was from not this past season, but the season before. We were in southwestern Oklahoma. Very large tornado formed on a storm, and this was right in the heart of tornado season, and a lot of times during the peak of tornado season, you have a lot of researchers that are out there deploying probes and with equipment, and you get these big mobile Doppler radar trucks that go out there and take wind measurements on the storms, and they try to get close to do their scans, but they're these massive trucks like the size of an RV. And that's all fine and dandy if you're on a paved road or something, but it gets a little trickier when they try to take those things on these like single track dirt roads. Imagine you're on this narrow little dirt road and you're trying to turn something around that's the size of an RV. So I was out on one of those dirt roads, and we were shooting this tornado, and we had a couple of different problems. First was somebody tried to take one of these Dow trucks onto a dirt road and then couldn't get it turned around and got this thing high centered. And so with the tornado approaching, we weren't sure that he was going to be able to get that thing out of there. So our escape route to get out of the way essentially was blocked. So the only choice was to go the other direction on the dirt road. So we ended up going down the dirt road, but it had rained in that area a lot in the days leading up to that. And it was very, very muddy. And we got to a point where we got stuck in the mud. So we got this large tornado approaching us. We're stuck in the mud one way, and we've got, and you can't go the other way on the dirt road. And it was one of those things where you literally have to just be innovative and use anything that you can. And we were in this area where it had some of this kind of deserty scrub brush. And so I just started grabbing branches and you get, little tree branches and things and shoving them underneath the tires to try to regain traction, and fortunately was able to get out of the mud. But so there's always stuff like that even when you think you've planned for everything, other people can do things that you can't control. A road that maybe appears on a map or on satellite that looks like a good road just suddenly ends or disappears. So there's always something. We try to always have escape routes, always have backup plans for everything, but there are certain things that you just can't plan for.
I want to go back to something we mentioned a little bit earlier when what was supposed to be a cute selfie with your dog turned into a near-death experience.
I don't know if I would call it a near-death experience, but if you don't like the desert and you're not used to desert things, it was one of those things that could have been terrifying. So we were on our way back from Corgi Beach Day. We had taken Aspen and Bacon out to go play in California, and so I was driving back, and this was during the time that we had about a 2-week period where there was a nice comet that was visible in the northwestern sky just about an hour after sunset. And so the year before, I had taken one of my favorite selfies with Aspen. We had gone out to the desert and we found this big, beautiful saguaro cactus. We had done a selfie where I was holding Aspen with her ears up, and we had a saguaro cactus with the comet streaking through the night sky. And I loved that photo. And I thought, okay, I want to do this again with the other comet. So we stopped and, we drove around. I didn't really have a whole lot of time to scout out a location because this comet was only visible for about an hour, and we were coming back from California. So it was kind of a last minute thing, but I knew of an area that was kind of off-road out by Lake Pleasant. There was a little dirt road that went back into the desert, and I knew there were some nice cacti back there, and I thought, okay, we can make this happen on short notice. So I found a really nice cactus that I liked. There was actually 2 in the composition. I thought, okay, this is perfect. We'll put the comet in the middle, cactus on each side, and I'm going to stand in the middle and hold Aspen. So I set the camera up on the tripod, and anytime you're doing a selfie without an assistant out there, you just have to let your camera shoot on intervals. And then I went to the car, grabbed her, pulled her out there, and got into the composition where I knew we would be in focus. And then anytime it wasn't a super long exposure, but it was about 2 seconds. So I needed a frame where her head wasn't moving, where I wasn't moving. So we get out there, and I've got her, I'm holding her up with both arms, and I'm standing there, and I'm trying to be really still because I want her with both ears up to get the nice, like, perfect picture to make it look like she's looking at the comet and all that good stuff. So we're standing there being totally still, and as we're standing there, something in the desert beneath us was not being very still. I look down, and there's a big rattlesnake that's literally coming right between my legs while I'm standing there holding Aspen, which all fine and dandy. I could see it. I knew what it was doing. So I'm just kind of waiting for it to go. But then as it goes through on the other side and heads back towards my tripod, I realize I'm holding Aspen. I can't set her down to grab my light or to turn on a flashlight or to turn on the light on my phone. And now I need to walk back through the desert in the dark and try not to step on this rattlesnake, which I have absolutely no idea where. So I'm waiting as long as I can. So I just waited to the point where I was getting to the point where my arms were shaking because I can't hold her anymore. And then I was like, all right, we need to start walking back here. So I'm just taking these little baby steps trying to look, and it's pitch black and I have no light. So I'm only taking a couple steps at a time because I have absolutely no idea where this snake has gone. I mean, for all I knew, it could be 20 yards away by now, but it could also be right back where the tripod is. And I don't want to step on it in the middle of the night.
Pretty sketchy.
Always, yeah, little sketch and always an adventure.
But did you get the picture?
We did get a nice shot.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll have to share it with
yeah,
everyone as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's looking so suspicious.
She's like, I remember that.
She's like, what are we doing? Are we having to do that again?
You guys have always been a Corgi family.
Yes and no. When I was growing up, I had a Siberian Husky.
Wow.
Followed my dad home when he was out on a run, and we put up signs in the neighborhood, and nobody ever claimed it. It didn't have a chip, and so we adopted it. And so I grew up with a big dog. I liked big dogs. It's like big dogs are great, right? Then I met Ginger. When I met Ginger, she had a bunch of little dogs. She had a Chihuahua, and then she had this other one that was a Chihuahua Corgi mix. And I had never had a small dog before, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I was used to like big old dogs that you play in roughhouse with. But the Chihuahua you definitely couldn't do with. It was small and barky, and I was like, you know what? But I loved the other one. I thought, this dog is great. But unfortunately, he was a little bit older and ultimately went into kidney failure, and we lost him. And so then the discussion between Ginger and I started of, okay, well, we know we want to get another dog, but what? And I kind of wanted a big dog. She kind of wanted a small dog. And we said, okay, we need to compromise, do something in the middle. And I said, you know what? I really liked the Corgi traits in Harley. What about a Corgi? She's like, yeah, let's get a Corgi. And Aspen was actually supposed to be Ginger's dog. So right, so we found a breeder in Phoenix that had these Corgis, and we had the second pick of the litter. So we go out to meet this breeder and to see the dogs and make our pick, right? So we get out to this breeder, and we got all these puppies, and most of the puppies are hanging around mom. There was the one little female that had already been spoken for and had a little tag on it that it had been picked. Then I found this other little boy, so cute, tiny little thing, fell asleep in my hands, and I was like, I'd be okay with this one. This is perfect. And so I'm starting to think in my head, this is going to be our dog. Ginger says, nope, I want that one. I was like, what? I was like, which one? That one. I was like, where are you even looking? She points down the hallway, and I see this big, fat, little puppy butt waddling down the hallway on its own, nowhere near mom, nowhere near the other puppies. And Ginger's like, I want that one. She's active. It's like, that's the one we're going to take, right? Yeah. So they were still like babies and needed to be with mom for a little while, right? So we made our pick. And then a couple weeks go by, and they call us and they say, okay, she's ready for you to come get her. So this is the first time we had got a puppy together, right? So this is our first joint puppy. I had no idea what I was doing. I had never had a puppy before. I knew, okay, we needed to get a little carrier, and we needed to get some toys and all the basic essentials to life. So we went and bought all that stuff, and we brought this carrier to go get her. So we go pick her up, sign the paperwork, and we're bringing her home. And she's away from mom for the first time, and so we hear her whimper in the bag. She's on Ginger's lap in the bag, and I said, oh, she's scared. Why don't you just let her out for a second? And Ginger unzips the bag. This tiny little head pops out of the bag and looks at her and goes, and I was like, okay, put her back. So we zip the bag back up, and I thought, okay, you know what? It's just gonna take a little bit of time, right, for them to bond and do their thing. So, we're doing all the puppy stuff. We're doing puppy training, and we're playing with them. And Ginger decided one Saturday that she was really gonna try to bond with this puppy and make this puppy hers. She was ready to make the commitment, right? So she's a big Alabama football fan. So she's in the living room watching the Alabama football game, and I was in the kitchen cooking something. And so I had my back turned to them, and I'm just doing my thing, and then all of a sudden I hear Ginger going, ah! And I turn around and I see what looks like her choking a puppy, and I was like, what are you doing? And I look, and then I realize she's not choking the puppy, but Aspen had she had tried to kiss Aspen, and she had those sharp little puppy teeth, and Aspen had latched on to her tongue and wouldn't let go. And I was like, okay, all right. I was like,
how'd you deal with that?
I was like, calm down, you're okay. And so Aspen let go, but in that moment, I think Ginger decided at that point she wanted a boy puppy, and I had been against getting two dogs because we were both working full time jobs and traveling and doing a bunch of stuff at the time, and I didn't really think we could have two dogs. But I think I realized in that moment that Aspen had kind of started to bond with me and was destined to be my dog, and
She never bit your tongue.
no, and so that was how Colton and ultimately Bacon came to be. Then we decided that Ginger needed a boy.
Yeah, I can tell you guys have a very, very strong bond. Just from the moment we saw you together. She was meant to chase storms.
I know, yeah.
That was her calling.
It's funny because I never really I never really thought about getting a dog and having like his and hers, but I guess naturally dogs bond more to one person than the other, and she kind of connected with me, and she had that little spicy personality, and I took a liking to it. She's very very independent, as you can see, she's sitting out there in the desert by
Just
herself,
relaxing.
just doing her own thing. But that's what she does. She when she wants to be with you and wants to play and wants to interact, she'll do it on her terms, and then the rest of the time she wants everybody in the whole rest of the world to leave her alone, and I'm totally cool with that. I'm like, girlfriend, that's good, have your space.
It works so well, I guess, because you guys both travel so
It's
much that
perfect,
you get one each.
And the male corgis tend to be like really really affectionate and cuddly, and they want to be right next to you all the time, and Ginger loves that. She wants to like Bacon you cannot do anything in our house without him looking for mama. I'll give you a perfect example just from this morning, right? So we get up, taking the two dogs out to play and get a little exercise and do their potty breaks in the morning, and she goes out and wants to play with her toys, and then I'll stop and I look, and Bacon stops right at the sliding door, and if Ginger's home, he's not coming outside unless she comes out with him. And so it's funny, like the bond becomes very 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 close to where those two have become almost inseparable, and I never really intended it to be that way, but she and I have too.
Amazing.
You mentioned when you're on the road that you give her a topper, you make sure you give her some supplements, and she's getting older, but she's still super active. And I guess this is a dog who's in somewhat high stress environments.
Yes, big time.
And even if she's not stressed, I imagine there's a lot of people around her who are stressed.
Well, just travel itself
Yeah.
is a stressful situation a lot of times too. So yeah, nutrition becomes a really important part of that.
Yeah. Tell me more about what you do for her nutrition.
She loves vegetables. I was really lucky. I've had dogs that just want a protein, and that's it. That's all they'll ever eat, and they get really really picky. And I found out when she was really young, and we would go visit my parents. Whenever my mom would be in the kitchen cutting carrots and vegetables, she was right at her feet and always wanted a carrot, always wanted a vegetable, anything that has crunch to it. So I just started incorporating that stuff into her diet because I figured, that's going to be a healthy way to keep her active. And as much as you want to trust all those different dog products that are out there and the foods and the things that say they're single ingredient, I'm always a little bit skeptical of whether they're getting all the nutrients they need or not. So I always try to supplement that with a good clean protein, like chicken or maybe a little bit of turkey, and then I always try to make sure that she has fresh vegetables.
Amazing. And you mentioned she's not really slowing down, but
No, she's not. But she does when she goes on longer walks. Like you can tell the endurance starts to fall off, and you can tell there's like a little bit of stiffness in the joints because on the longer walks, Bacon will get going on that trot, and she used to do that too. And now she's a little bit more deliberate, one foot in front of another, and you can tell it's just that on the lengthy stuff it gets a little bit more labored.
Yeah. Are you starting to think about that when it comes to the nutrition and how you're feeding her and how you're looking after her?
Definitely, and so it's become even more of a priority as she's gotten older to make sure that I'm really thinking about that and making sure that all of her nutritional needs are being met so that she can stay healthy and active for as long as possible.
And we often talk about the lifespan of a dog, but the health span is also what we're super interested in, right? The real longevity that a dog is
Quality
having,
of life.
the quality of life.
Absolutely.
And it is remarkable. I mean, we're looking here, she's now 13, almost 14, but looks like an 8-year-old corgi.
Everyone tells me that. People say she looks like she's like 7 or 8.
Yeah, incredible. And you did say before, including those supplements, that the likes of the glucosamine just to keep her moving, just to keep her joints going. That's something that you've always been passionate about, and I guess also why we're talking today.
And it pays off in terms of enhancing their quality of life, their longevity, because you really hit on a great point when you said that it's not just the lifespan that's meaningful, it's the amount of time that they can be active and out there enjoying the things that they love and being happy, because once they can't play with their toys, once they can't go on those long walks, once they can't swim, play in the snow, do all that stuff, then it's very, very hard for them to stay happy and have that mental health that's also an important part of their lives.
I guess having something like VitaDog for you then is pretty indispensable with all the travel you do, because it saves you having to cart around like 15 different supplements.
Absolutely, because then you don't have to blend things, you don't have to pack 5 different bags with all of the different stuff. It's definitely nice to have something that has all those nutrients and all of those ingredients in one, because it ends up being less things that you have to think about when you're out there on the road and you're busy doing other stuff.
That was on the bottom of every bag, we have our motto, dog health made easy. And that's exactly what we try to do.
Easy is what we need.
Yeah.
Especially when we're traveling and we're busy as we are, easy is key. It has to be good and it has to be quality, but easy is key.
Yeah. Well, that was when we designed it, that was our first requirement. The first one was the highest quality, not the price. We said to our manufacturers.
People will pay any price for the right stuff for their dogs, because you can't put a price on your dog's health and on your dog's happiness. You really can't. And most people, I'm sure you've heard this before, most people tell you they will spend more money buying a quality product for their dog than they will for themselves.
Of course they will.
Because it's love, and you can't put a price on love and that companionship and knowing that your dog's going to be happy and healthy and able to go on all those adventures with you and do all those things.
I'm sure there is no price that you wouldn't pay for 2 or 3 or 4 more extra years with your dog.
Facts.
Yeah.
True facts.
Yeah. You just can't get long enough.
No, you can't. Their lives are way too short for the amount of joy and happiness that they bring. So, anytime we have an opportunity to extend that or support that or give them what they need to have that longevity, I think we've been very fortunate that Aspen has been as healthy as she has for as long as she has. And that doesn't happen by accident.
No, it's intentional. It's really intentional.
Yeah.
And I hope that we're able to definitely extend those extra years and make them as healthy as possible with VitaDog.
For sure. And we love it. And anything that we can do to keep her moving and ready for the next adventure is great.
Yeah, that's what we do. High quality ingredients, also made in America, was very important to us, because you don't know where stuff's coming from these days.
Yeah, you definitely want to know where anything that you give your dog is coming from, and you want to know that whoever's manufacturing it has that commitment to quality, not only in the ingredients that they pick, but also in the manufacturing process, to where things can get introduced that you don't want there. So it's that's big. That's important.
Yeah, there are a lot of cowboys in the industry.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I when I first got her as a puppy, I was really naive, and I probably gave her some treats and some things that I shouldn't have given her. And now, knowing what I do, I would never I'll walk into a pet store, and I walk by 90% of the stuff out there, and I'm like, nope, absolutely not. Wouldn't even think about it. And we've just developed these handful of things that we trust and that we feel good about, and that we're willing to give to our dogs, because they can't make that decision on their own. You have to make it for them, and so they're depending on you to make a great decision and to get something that's going to give them the benefit that they need.
You have to educate yourself as well. They can't do it for you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Chris and I, when we started developing this product, we spending every single day trying to learn about the nutrients, trying to figure out what is right, is more than a full-time job.
Oh, I believe it.
To get all those things, to put all the research papers together, to talk to all the nutritionists that we spoke to, and really put it together and find that one blend also that dogs like.
Yeah, that's a big piece of it too, because you see so many supplements and so many different things out there that, you look at the ingredients, you go, okay, I feel pretty good about this, and then you offer it to the dog, and the dog's like, ugh, what do you want me to do with that?
Yeah.
Especially, we've got Bacon, who's one of the more picky eaters that I've ever seen in my entire life. If he doesn't like it, it doesn't matter how good for him it is, he's not going to touch it. And her to a lesser extent, but she still gets much more excited about something that actually tastes good, and she has fun eating and can look forward to as part of her daily routine.
That's when we spoke to Ginger for the first time. She said, "Oh, I love the ingredients, but let's see if Bacon likes it. Let's see if he eats it. Then we'll talk properly."
Yeah, that's always the big challenge with him. And this is a dog where, I wouldn't have believed it if Ginger just told me. I thought, when he was a puppy, you think puppies will eat anything. They're just food machines, right? Little vacuum cleaners going around just gobbling up anything that happens to come their way. From the time Bacon was like, I don't know how many weeks old, and we got him, he was this little ball of fluff that hadn't even grown into his ears yet. And, he'd look at his breakfast in the morning and be like, nah, I'm good. And then we would have to try something different and try something different. And then we finally found a food that he would like. And even when you give him something that he likes, if he's not really in the mood for it, to get him to eat breakfast, you're going to have to sit down with him. You're going to have to make sure it's on a dish that he approves of, and you're going to have to hand feed it to him. And we still do this every morning. If he decides that he's gonna be difficult because Mama's going to work. I know Mama's going to work. I'm hungry. I definitely want to eat, and I like my food, but I'm gonna make you feed it to me.
So unusual, especially for Corgi, because Corgis normally eat anything
and everything. Yeah. So the one thing you can be sure of is if Bacon likes it, we're good to go.
I think on the next round of packaging, we're going to put approved by Bacon on it.
Right, you just say Bacon approved.
Bacon approved.
If Bacon will eat it, anybody.
That's better than any seal we can get out there. Amazing. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys. It's been fun to talk dogs and travel and storms.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys having us on.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.